What's up, sailors, and welcome back to the channel. Now here I've got a Tohatsu 2.5 short shaft in bits, obviously. I picked up last year, about August, 9 months ago, and I think it's been underwater for a very long time. It's seized, it's in a really bad state. I have no idea if it works or not, but I'm up for a challenge. So that last year I decided to strip it down, have a look, and see if I can get it running. So let's go back and see where it all started. Now, if you remember in the last episode, we've done 3 parts with a Tohatsu 3.5, and we got that up and running. Well, this outboard came with that one. It's in a dire state. There's bits missing and all sorts. So I'm going to have a look at this one today in this episode and see if I can get it running, which would be great. Oh, and as a special request from my brother, I now have left-handed gloves. So I'm going to bring you in closer so we can have a good look at this engine. It's a 2.5 short shaft, 2-stroke Tohatsu. It's should be a pretty good engine if they're up and running. But as you can see, this one's in a pretty dire state. But looks can be deceiving, so let's remain positive and see what we can do. So the fuel valve is absolutely fine. That seems to be working, but obviously the fuel line's not connected here at all. The control panel here is seen better days. It's all broken up, and I don't think the stop button works very well. That's falling out, so that's got to be fixed. Otherwise, well, it's not going to start if it's not pulling on there with the safety key. The controls seem all right, although this one does seem to go a bit high compared to the other outboards. You can see there, it's only supposed to go that high, so I'm not sure what that's about, but I can look into that. It does feel like it is seized, definitely. I don't think it's stuck in gear or anything. I think actually these are standard. They don't have a gear shift, gear lever like the 3.5s. These are always in gear, I believe, but that's something else I'll look into. So we've got the fuel tank. That doesn't seem to be leaking at all. When I opened it up, there was a bit of air pressure in there, so that seems to be fine. The electronics, I mean, they look like they're there. So again, you know, it's not too bad. This is quite stiff to move around here, but no spark plug. Not a problem. Grab one from something else. Just get a new one for that. But yeah, other than that, it's tatty. I think if we can get that engine freed up, that'll probably be the first thing, because if the engine is seized or the piston's seized in there, well, it's just not worth bothering with anything else. I need to free that up, make sure there's compression, and then I think we can move on to a few other bits. And it's never going to be all that glamorous. It's not going to win any awards or anything, but I think just to be able to get this up and running would be good enough for me. So let's get started on freeing up this piston. Well, the head's off, and it's not a very pretty sight at all. Look at all these water channels full of rock, salt, gravel, corrosion, an absolute mess. Like the last one we had, but this time this is 10 times worse. So this is a good example as to why you shouldn't just grab an engine and assume, you know, it's in good condition. Certainly, obviously, if it's second hand and well used. So I would think with the water channels being that clogged up and that messy, it's very possible that this engine has overheated and seized. But I'm going to have a look at the top end now and see if the piston and all that can move freely now it's been removed from the shaft. So I've removed the head so we can get inside and have a look at the piston. And as you can see, it's quite a bit of a mess in there. It's a fair amount of rust, corrosion, and just generally in a very bad state. And the walls are pretty corroded up. And normally I would just give up now. I mean, this explains why it's seized, and I don't think it's because probably overheating and that. It's just seized because it's been left outdoors for years. No spark plug in there, water's got in there, and it's just done what it does. So I'm going to give it a clean up anyway, just see if I can free it up, just for the fun of it really. But normally, yeah, I just give up, not worth it on a old outboard like this. So I'll give it a clean up now. So using a technique that I've seen on other YouTube videos, I've turned the outboard upside down onto its back, and I filled up the piston chamber with a concoction of ATF fluid and penetrating oil, and it's slowly been going down, so I'm guessing that it's probably got past the piston rings, and hopefully it'll be removing some of that dirt, eating away, and a bit of luck, I might actually be able to get this piston freed up. So I'm going to carry on working away at it, giving it a little tap, and a bit of luck, I should be able to get it freed up. The piston's not giving way. I've soaked it for a few hours now. Hit it with a hammer, with a piece of wood, and it's not giving way, so it could be just more than that. So what I've done is I very carefully took the casing apart and to have a look at the crank, and that looks quite rusted up as well, so it could be the problem actually in that. So I'm going to just take this apart and clean it up and grease it up and see if I can free it up, and see if I can basically get the piston from the back of it, and we'll see. Now I've exposed the bearings, they're looking a little bit rusty, so that could obviously be causing a bit of an issue when it comes to freeing this up. So that side's a little bit rusty, this side's a little bit more, and they don't look like they're moving very much. So I think next thing to do is give them a bit of a clean, a bit of lube, just get them moving a bit freely. I'm trying to save this gasket as well, because it's the only one I got at the moment. I don't really want to order a new one if this whole thing doesn't run, so I'm being careful not to break that. As for the crank, I'm starting to get a bit movement. You can't actually see it there, but there's a little bit of movement. So I'll keep on adding the penetrating oil, hope it gets in all these bits here, and see if we can get these bearings freed up. We're getting there, slowly but surely we're getting there. If I can actually get this freed up, we do stand a chance of maybe getting this started, which would be absolutely amazing. So I'm going to carry on and be back with you in a minute. Well, it's been a couple of days and this little piston is still seized up. I've let it soak over a couple of nights with some anti-seize and some ATF and various different fluids and that, in the hope that it's going to free it up. I've tapped it out as well with a piece of wood and a hammer. I've tried everything I can so far, and it's just not budging. So I'm now going to move on to bigger measures. I'm going to bring out the blowtorch. Well, as you could see, that was quite a task, digging into this outboard. So one of the main issues was obviously these bearings. They were jammed up, but I managed to free those up, spinning quite nicely now, so I'm pleased about that. Might make sense obviously in the long run to replace them, but for now I think it will be all right. And the other big issue was this piston seized. Now I used a lot of heat, I used lubricant, I even used fizzy drinks and that, and even hammering away with a piece of wood, as you saw. Eventually I did get it moving. I've got it that far, so I need to keep working on that. Now I think probably I'm going to need to replace the piston rings. That's probably what the big issue with. But for now, I'm going to keep working away, get this piston freed up. Then I might look into putting it back together and see if we can get it started. So join me on the next episode when we carry on this journey, this little Tohatsu 2.5, and a bit of luck, we'll actually get it running. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the new subscribers, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.